Now, a more serious topic, the murder of George Tiller, the Kansas doctor who became a target of the right wing for performing abortions, is an absolute tragedy. But within hours, a heated ideological debate broke out about whether a talk show host, Fox's Bill O'Reilly, was somehow to blame. It's true that O'Reilly frequently and loudly denounced Tiller, especially for performing late-term abortions. But can you really draw a line from that to inciting violence? On The Factor, O'Reilly condemned the killing, but also said that because of Tiller, based on the number of abortions he is estimated to have performed, 60,000 fetuses never became American citizens.
When I heard about Tiller's murder, I knew pro-abortion zealots and Fox News haters would attempt to blame us for the crime, and that is exactly what has happened. Every single thing we said about Tiller was true, and my analysis was based on those facts.
MSNBC's Keith Olbermann pointed the finger at his longtime nemesis and played past clips of O'Reilly attacking Tiller.
Tiller, the baby killer as some call him, will perform a late-term abortion for just about any reason. Tiller has killed thousands of late-term fetuses without explanation. No question Dr. Tiller has blood on his hands.
If you know a viewer of that channel, show them this tape, or just the tape of the attacks on Dr. Tiller that set the stage for his assassination. Fox News Channel will never restrain itself from incitement to murder and terrorism, not until its profits begin to decline, when its growth stops.
So is it fair to even be talking about a cable host role in a heinous killing? Joining us now, Kathleen Parker, syndicated columnist for the Washington Post Writers Group, and Bill Press, host of the Bill Press Show on Sirius Satellite Radio. Kathleen Parker, some liberal commentators couldn't wait to accuse O'Reilly of inciting the violence that led to George Tiller's murder. Fair or unfair?
Irrelevant. I mean, yes, of course it's unfair. You can't blame anyone for a crime except the person who commits the crime. Clearly, people on the far left are always looking for an excuse to attack Bill O'Reilly, and Keith Olbermann and O'Reilly tend to bounce off each other a good bit. So I'm not sure who this argument is really between.
And at the same time, Bill Press, O'Reilly went after Tiller again and again, a couple of dozen times, in harshly personal terms. So is there some basis for pointing the finger at him?
Well, first of all, I have to agree with Kathleen. I do not hold Bill, at the risk of alienating a lot of my liberal friends, I do not hold Bill O'Reilly responsible for George Tiller's murder. But I think you have to understand and accept the fact that words do have consequences. Violent words can lead to violent actions, and I think that everybody in the media, myself included, who's got the microphone, has a responsibility to weigh their words very carefully, because there's some sick people out there who will take what you say literally, particularly when you use a word like murder. Let me just say, I think it was wrong to call Bill O'Reilly a murderer. I think it's wrong to call George Tiller, wrong for O'Reilly to call George Tiller a murderer as well.
What George Tiller was doing was legal, although many people did not like what he was doing. But I also want to mention that he was shot in 1993 when there was no O'Reilly factor and there was no Fox News. So do you think, Kathleen, that the people pointing the fingers at O'Reilly with varying degrees of fervor are politicizing this tragedy?
Well, of course they are. This is, and this is the topic du jour anyway, because of Obama's recent address to Notre Dame. It's on everyone's mind, and any opportunity for the pro-choice people to make their case more strongly is going to be taken advantage of, and vice versa. I mean, we're always listening to the extremes on either side. They're the squeakiest wheels, the loudest voices, and they get the attention.
I was just going to say, I have a rule that whenever you hear the H word, be it Hitler or Holocaust, they've gone too far.
Change the channel.
I mean, they've gone either side, and they both use it more to the right, I think, than the left. But they've gone too far.
Has Olbermann gone too far by, in effect, calling for people to walk out on businesses playing Fox News Channel? And he says his goal is to get O'Reilly off the air.
Well, I think this is part of the ongoing battle between Keith Olbermann and Bill O'Reilly. So I take it in that context. I mean,
but he wasn't kidding around and doing the usual mocking voice. In fact, he said he was going to dispense with that. He was serious.
But,
I wonder what he thinks is going to happen, though, because where is Olbermann without O'Reilly? He's
saying they need each other?
A little bit. I think so,
and his goal is to knock Bill O'Reilly off the air, which is never going to happen.
No.
So it's part of his shtick, and it's good. And
I would love to see the outcome of this be that O'Reilly and all of these talking heads who become so completely over the top so many times, just to say, look, this is a teaching moment. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to make our cases strongly. We're going to be passionate, but we're going to tone down the rhetoric. I mean, wouldn't that be a great result?
Well, I think it's unfair to demonize O'Reilly in this matter, but at the same time, I wish he had denounced the murder of Tiller more forcefully. He certainly condemned it, but not as forcefully.
No, I was going to say, exactly. That clip you just played, it would have been nice to hear him say, this is a horrific act, and I'm, sorry that it happened, and sorry for him and for his family, whatever. He didn't. He just kept his high tone about, I was right all along, everything I said. Calling him, again, a killer, calling him a murderer was wrong and inflammatory, and risks inciting violence.
Well, O'Reilly says the baby killer label was one that others have attached to Tiller. He was repeating it. You write in your column, here's a broader point. You write in your column that right-wing wacko contingent increasingly dominates public perception of the Republican Party. Is that in part because the media keep trying to tie the two together?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, as soon as this person stormed into the church and shot Dr. Tiller.
In church. Just amazing, appalling.
Absolutely. I mean, all of that understood.
Yeah, but as soon as that happened.
But as soon as that happens, then the media step in and characterize this killer as a Christian, somebody who's part of this more right-wing Operation Rescue organization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty soon, the person of the murderer becomes sort of the face of the conservative, pro-life Republican Party, which is, I think, wrong.
Can I add something here, which is, I know it's easy to, and you weren't doing this, but I hear people blaming it on the media. Like when Limbaugh last week said that equated President Obama with Al-Qaeda, and then they were saying, well, why would the media even cover this? Well, because he said it. My point is, you can't blame the media.
No,
if they stop saying such extremist, outrageous things, we in the media will stop talking about it.
Well, the media follow the fire, clearly. Wherever the heat is, that's where, and I'm part of the media, so I know how this works. I've been doing this for a long time. We go where the action is. But there is, I think, the media are going to always sort of defend the pro-choice position. They're less likely to portray sympathetically the pro-life position. That's just a fact. I think you could document that.
That sets up my next question, which is O'Reilly published an opinion piece in the Nevada Appeal newspaper, and he says the far left is seeking to silence Americans who are appalled by late-term abortion. In other words, using this incident to suggest that anybody who criticizes those who perform abortions is contributing to an unhealthy climate.
I was at South Bend when President Obama gave that speech, and I thought, I agree very much with the tone of his speech, which is saying the Americans maybe never agree on this issue, but it is an issue where we can seek common ground. And I think that's the place where most right-thinking people are. But I have to say, again, there are two sides of this argument. I happen to be pro-choice, strongly pro-choice. But I think if you look, the extreme rhetoric is on the right-hand side. They're the ones that use murder. They're the ones that use Holocaust. They're the ones that use killer. You don't hear that heated rhetoric on the left, and I don't think the right is doing itself any good by using that rhetoric.
I agree with you that they're not. I would much prefer an educational approach. I think, we could reduce abortion much more easily if we talk honestly about it in sensible, civilized terms. But I also understand the intense passion among those who really do think of it as murder. It's not sort of this, they're not looking for heated vocabulary. They really do feel that intensely and feel they have a moral duty to object.
I want to call a halt here because I want to play a clip of President Bill Clinton. This is in 1995 after the Oklahoma City bombing when he appeared to take aim at Rush Limbaugh and radio talk show hosts like G. Gordon Liddy.
We hear so many loud and angry voices in America today whose sole goal seems to be to try to keep some people as paranoid as possible and the rest of us all torn up and upset with each other. They spread hate. They leave the impression that, by their very words, that violence is acceptable.
So just briefly, here is Bill Clinton making the argument that talk show hosts, that their words have consequences and can lead to violence. Is that, with the benefit of hindsight, is that a fair...
Well, this is not a new problem. I mean, as Bill said, we're agreeing on everything here today. But words do matter, and do they lead to? Can you have a cause and effect line? I don't think so. I think we're all responsible for what we say. We're all responsible for what we do. But clearly, there's no constructive end, I think, here.
No, I come back to words have consequences. I think that's Bill Clinton was not blaming Rush Limbaugh on Timothy McVeigh on Rush Limbaugh.
He said they were creating a climate in which this crime was possible.
Well, they have to. I think people, again, I'm one of them, on the microphone every day. You've got to be very careful what you say, because words do have consequences. Violent words can lead to violent actions.
And with those words, we are going to leave it there. Thanks for an intelligent discussion. The press, Kathleen Parker, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Howie.